3. And welcome to Yoshi 1 Kenobi Spoiler Season deck decks. Now, in the Spoiler Season deck decks, we take the cards that are available to us now from the spoilers, and we build a deck using all the cards that are available from Standard that we know about, plus the new cards that are revealed, and we build a deck list out of them, centered around the card. So let's start. Today, we will be playing with Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients. Now, Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients, is a legendary planeswalker with some pretty cool abilities. Her +1 is to create a 1/1 core warrior creature tokens, and you may attach an equipment you control to it. Her -2, you look at the top 6 cards of your library, you may reveal a warrior or an equipment card from among them and put it into your hand. Then you put the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. And her -3 deals damage to target creature or planeswalker equal to twice the number of equipments you control. And it's a 4-mana loyalty, 4-mana cost planeswalker in Boros colors. So what can we do with this? Well, if we analyze it, a +1 that actually generates a token is already a fairly good effect. If we look at other cards like Garrick, it's a minus to create a token. Elspeth, the 4-mana Elspeth, it's -2 to create tokens. Now, granted, these are stronger effects, but Nahiri summons a token on her plus, so it's fairly good. The fact that you get a free equipment means that we probably want to place some quantity of equipments into our deck. Now, the -2 and -3 are both related to equipment, but the -2 is also related to warriors. Now, right now, a lot of the cards that are equipment matter in Standard are knights, not warriors. If we try to make it warriors and knights themed, then we end up with kind of a mishmash. So I'm going to use the -2 and ignore the warrior part altogether, and make Nahiri planeswalker that summons tokens and cares about equipments. If we just care about the +1 and the -3, Nahiri is still fairly powerful. It's a planeswalker that acts as a removal that's going to be a token spawning machine that'll leverage the power of the equipments. Now let's take a look at the deck list. So we'll be centered around knights, because if we're going to be playing equipments, then what are the big payoffs? Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients, is great payoff. What else? Fervent Champion. Equipments cost 0 to equip to it. So if we have a bunch of equipments lying around and we draw Fervent Champion, we cast it. We can equip everything to the Fervent Champion and swing for a ridiculous amount of damage. Alright, so Fervent Champion cares about equipment. Nahiri cares about equipment. What are some of the equipments that we can play? Well, the 2 best equipments in Standard that we know of are Embercleave, because it's just very powerful, and Shadowspear, which is fairly cheap, and +1/+1 trample and lifelink are very useful abilities. Now there's another equipment that saw brief play when Throne of Eldraine came out, and that's Steelclaw Lance. It gives +2/+2, and it costs only 1 to equip if you're equipping it on knights. And the ability to just have this +2/+2 that can move around whenever your creature gets removed, you can move it to another creature. And the fact that it costs just 1 for knights makes it a fairly valuable card. Now with Nahiri, it's probably going to be the prime candidate for equipping onto our token, because it becomes a 3/3 that enters the battlefield. I'll also play a single copy of Crystal Slipper to try it out. It's an equipment that gives haste. Just for 1 mana, and typically these are kind of fringe playable cards. Haste is powerful ability, having to pay 1 mana for it every time. It's okay, but if we combine this with Nahiri's +1 ability, we +1, we bring a token into play, we equip an Embercleave to it for free, then we equip the Crystal Slipper, and suddenly you have a 3/2 double strike haste creature that entered basically for free, just the +1 of your planeswalker. So I think Crystal Slipper is going to be at the very least a sideboard card in this type of deck, where if you're playing against a control-ish type opponent, it gives all your creatures haste. It gives Nahiri's tokens haste with, well, since Nahiri's tokens are part of all your creatures. Logic follows. Alright, so let's talk about the creature package. We'll play 4 copies of Venerable Knight, 4 copies of Fervent Champions, since they're the best knights and Fervent Champion is an all-star in this deck. We'll play 4 copies of Wordy Knight. It's kind of the precinct captain of the knights. If you're playing knights, you want to play Wordy Knight, because it's going to spawn a bunch of tokens, which again, you can start equipping stuff on if you need to make them more powerful. We'll also be playing 4 copies of Stormfist Crusader, because Menace with equipment is good, it's just a solid card. We'll play 4 copies of Acclaimed Contender, we're playing Knights, we're playing equipments. This is just a free 3/3 for 3 that's going to fetch you the equipment you need, or fetch you the knight you need, which helps you to counterbalance the fact that you want a balance of creatures and equipments. We'll play 2 Murderous Riders. It's a removal spell that's also a knight. Quite important. Also a lifelink body that gets equipped. Very good. Then we have Basri's Lieutenant. Just a very solid card that's going to help us when the game goes long. And we'll play the 4 copies in Nahiri because it's the centerpiece of our deck, and we're playing enough equipment cards that her -3 should be able to deal 2 or 4 damage pretty much all the time. Her +1 ability is going to be very good, and if you're really looking to cleave, you can use the -2 from time to time. After all, we are playing 8 copies of equipments in the deck, so you have a decent chance of hitting something with the -2. Probably somewhere around 50%, a little bit more. In terms of the lands, we will be playing with 4 tournament grounds, 4 Savai Triomes. That's where the list becomes a little bit more sketchy because we're playing 3 colors. I'd play 1 Plains, 2 Swamp, 1 Mountain, and I'd hope that we get a cycle of fast lands. Now, I've seen kind of theories that the new lands are going to be something along the lines of it's a dual land, but when you play it, you get to pick which side you're playing it. So the Plains Swamp would be you either play it as a Plains or you play it as a Swamp. So if it's something like that, then and they're fast lands, and they're fast lands that don't really go well with double colored spells, then this deck is then they're going to fit really well in this deck because they're going to allow you to play aggressively and land your 1-drops on turn 1, your 2-drops on turn 2. And since we don't have too many double costed cards, only the Murderous Rider and Embercleave, but we can also leverage the tournament ground for the Embercleave. So we have enough of the colored mana for this. Then the mana base is going to be great. It's also the reason why I only play 2 Murderous Riders, because the double black has to be natural black, in the sense that you cannot use tournament grounds to pay for the kill spell part of Murderous Rider. You actually need swamps. And that's the idea for Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients deck, the Knights version. Before we get all of the goodness from Zendikar Rising, where we're going to actually get some equipments that are good for warriors. In the meantime, tell me what you think of this deck list, if you'd like to see some gameplay action once the set comes out, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 1 of spoiler season.
I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe by clicking the Yoshi icon at the right of your screen. It doesn't cost you any mana, and it greatly helps to support this channel and keep the awesome videos coming.